Welcome to Kung Fu Epic number 2. I'm Echo Fan Grey Wolf. I'm going to show you 3 videos that I made for TikTok. And it's about martial arts and size mattering or not mattering, depending on how you want to look at that. I had to adjust my draws, okay, for those who are watching. So, first and foremost, if you've been with me long enough, you heard this drill before, I'll say this drill again. My name is Echo Fan Grey Wolf. I am formerly the man known as James Williams Jr. I am formerly the boy known as Jonah from the projects. Alright? And in my time as Jonah, from the ages of 6 to 12, I was a childhood street fighter by force, not by course. So, long story short is that everybody is bigger than me. Everybody. Alright? As James Williams Jr., I got my shit together and became more of a martial artist than a street fighter. And then I would eventually wind up in the army. And then I would eventually wind up going back to what I wanted to do in the first place, which is acting, which I'm still working on. But screw that, because what is actually important right now is I'm going to show you 3 videos. Maybe 4. They're all 3 minutes long. It's about size mattering in a fight. And then we're going to talk about size mattering in a fight. So this might be a 2-parter. So brace yourself, because here comes Echo. Echo Fan Grey Wolf here. We're going to try this again. And this is going to be a 3-parter. And maybe I'll even take this thing to YouTube, because apparently y'all aren't aware of the truth. Alright. So let's talk martial arts. I do martial art lives all the time, although my last 2 ventures in lives on TikTok and Instagram have not been great, but I'm going to make this video. So first off and foremost, I got my panties in a twist. Alright, that's right, I said I got my panties in a twist. Why do I have my panties in a twist? Because there's some videos circulating about size mattering in fights, which apparently y'all seem to have forgotten when immigrant Asians, I'm not going to specifically pick on which Asians came first, but when immigrant Asians came here and how they would not share their secrets of martial arts with the American public, and they only shared it with Asians, and they used to beat the living fuck out of Americans, who were, by the way, in a sense, bigger than them, because in the 40s, the average Asian man wasn't from America, did not make it over the average height of 5'7", 5'8", maybe even shorter. So for y'all to go out and post all these videos about size not mattering, you guys kind of forgot the original martial artists that came to America before it was a American practice, when karate and kung fu were only shared in places like Chinatown and Little Korea and Little Japan and things like that. Before Americans were taught that shit in the military, before Americans was taught that shit abroad, when it was not being shared to the Guaylo, all of the Asians were smaller. Up until like the late 70s, early 80s, most Asian men never really were that tall. In fact, Bruce Lee was only 5'6", maybe 5'6 and a half, 5'7" at best. Now, there were taller Asians than him by the time he died, because, Thailand motherfuckers was pretty tall. But for most Chinese were fairly short. Now, most Chinese rarely made it, with the exception of a couple of legends. Most of them rarely made it to the 6-foot mark. So for those who are saying size doesn't matter, maybe you might do some research, or at least some Chinese history before they came to America. Because, Northern and Southern Shaolin Kung Fu, you might want to do a little bit of research on that before you keep spreading this bullshit about size mattering in a fight. There'll be another part. Part 2. So, with the exceptions of like Bolo and a couple of other Asians, Bruce Lee was fairly short in comparison to them. And I'm not using Bruce Lee as the whole god of Kung Fu template. He might be my god of Kung Fu, but y'all might not like him. Anyway, let's go to Wing Chun, the goddess of Kung Fu. She was barely a 5'1" young woman. And she beat up people who were way bigger than her for the time. As I said, back then, the average Asian male was maybe 5'7", 5'8". So, that was back then. As times have changed and Asians have reached well past the 6-foot mark, shout out to Simu Liu and Bolo, because those are probably the tallest two Asians that I know that are famous. Tony Jaa's pretty tall too. But understand this shit. Before that was a factor, when they was beating up like sailors who would come to China or Japan and try to do shit, you know, them little Asian men were fucking up American settlers, American soldiers. Which is why, and I could be a little off on my dates or whatever, which is why by the time World War II ended and we had acquired certain spots of Japan, we also acquired to start putting martial arts training into the military. And I use World War II as an example because that's the first time we really had a conflict with Asia. Before that, there was no conflict with Asia outside of, you know, news and shit about communism. And then after that, then there was the Korean War and the Vietnamese War. And by then, martial arts had been well equipped into the military ranking. So let's add that into the factor now. Now that Americans are learning it, now that Americans are, by average and at fault, mostly bigger than Asian men. All right? It also depends on what region of Asia did they come from, because certain regions of Asia was hidden from the world, and those guys were fairly fucking big. Now, if you want to go all the way back to the Terracotta Warriors, they weren't all that tall, but they were pretty fucking strong to walk around with massive ass armor on all goddamn day long too. So again, your size is probably that much of a factor in a fight. Your skill level is everything. If you're 5'9" and you fight somebody who's 5'3" and they're more skilled than you, they are bound to beat your ass if you don't cheat. And people do cheat in fights. But again, size, man. Don't keep believing that hype. There will be a part 3. Okay, so I had to remake this video just due to the fact that people are talking and won't shut the fuck up. And we will be going to take this straight to YouTube. It's just gonna be up late. Let's get real with this shit. Alright? In all honesty, you know, martial arts was never designed, or politically speaking, martial arts was never supposed to leave Asia. It was never supposed to leave Asia for the simple fact that size is a factor. However, martial arts left Asia because size is a factor. But a lot of people forgot that Jun Rhee from DC, you know, when you take Jun Rhee's self-defense, then you too can say nobody bothers me. He was 5'5". And he was beating everybody's ass. He's one of the people who put martial arts
between 5'5" and 5'7",
which also offered martial arts self-defense to everyone.
You can research that.
Besides Asians.
And nobody bothers me.
If not for Jun Rhee and Bruce Lee, none of us would be as dangerous as we are. And most of us have been taught by an Asian man who is smaller than them.
Or an Asian woman.
Now,
Shout out to Horoma Johnson.
Size could be a factor for you. It's not a factor for me because I've studied various forms of martial arts. In Kempo, they teach us that every block is a strike and every strike is a block. In Wing Chun, they teach us to get to the outside and break appendages, just like Kempo. But, you know, all martial arts are related on some level or another. And if you notice, certain sizes of certain body shapes belong with certain martial arts while others do not. This is why I'm going to take this video to YouTube, because then I'll have more time and more space so that you all can watch what I'm trying to say or learn what I'm trying to say. it's gonna probably take a couple of hours to charge up my laptop, so I probably won't make the video before 12 o'clock, depending on when you see this. But you will see this video on YouTube at some point, because I'm going to post all 3 of these videos on my YouTube before I get to talking. Okay? But understand this and understand it well. Size mattering, that's how much that is. Your skill level, how much you can take and how much you can give, is really only 2 things that's going to really matter when you get into a fight, whether it's in a tournament, the UFC, or in the streets. Because if someone bigger than you hits you in the face and you don't go down, well, I guess they have to put in that work, don't they? Because if someone bigger than me hits me in the face and I don't go down, they're going to have to put in that work. And I don't plan on letting them do that. I plan on finishing that shit before it even gets further. I have taken one to the face by people bigger than me. Unfortunately, a seatbelt kept me from beating. Okay,
I got caught in a seatbelt. Long story. So here's one of the videos that sparked a lot. I wasn't going to put it on YouTube. I changed my mind. Fuck it.
You say size don't matter.
I'm going to stitch this respectfully. They are both.
A lot of people don't like hearing this, but this is 100%.
So y'all can go watch the links and hear their side, but they haven't met me.
6 foot. You say size.
Okay.
I'm going to stitch this.
So those 2 guys there are fairly decent guys. That's how we got here. Because I couldn't stitch it. I couldn't stitch their videos. Which kind of fucking sucks. But it is what it is. I couldn't stitch their videos, which I guess in some form or another, you know, it's okay. But here's the truth about that. A lot of people that rely on their size does just that. They rely on their size instead of relying on their skill level and shit like that. You know, and if you're going to rely on your size a lot, you got a world of hurt when it comes to somebody who's as big as you, if not bigger than you, or have more skill than you. And I say this so often because if you guys watch Dojo Life, there's only 2 things that Rob and I will never agree on. Okay? And shout out to Rob from Dojo Life. There's only 2 things that Rob and I will never agree on. Size and pressure points. Alright? Rob does not believe that pressure points are a thing. Where in Kempo, Kempo, it's the same thing as Kenpo, which is Kenpo. I just learned that they were the same thing. I always was only told that there was Kempo, and now I know that there's Kempo and Kenpo. Okay, so I took Kempo with the M. Now, Rob and I will never agree that pressure points work. I agree that they work. He doesn't agree that they work. So that's where Rob and I will never agree at. Rob and I also don't agree that size doesn't matter. I strongly am an advocate that size doesn't matter. He believes that size is a thing but not a thing. You'd be better hearing it from Rob himself than me trying to quote him, because I don't do quotes very well. And I don't want to misquote or mislead anybody because Rob is the shit. Anyway, go follow Dojo Life. Now, here's my thing. I'm a little older than Rob. Okay, I'm a lot older than Rob. Hell, I'm about a lot older than everybody watching. And the only difference between me and everybody else that y'all watch is that they actually got a chance to show who they were. And I got YouTube. Now, I never got the chance coming up to show who I was. I never got the chance to show the world what I can do. And now with my hip replacement in the military, I don't really get enough chances to show y'all what I can do. I do not have a sparring partner to show y'all what works. I do not have the ability to show you what I know and to show you field testing. Which is also why when I do show you things, I always tell you, do not attempt. Some people have not had the training I've had. Alright? And maybe it's a Mandela effect, and maybe it's not. But like I said, I am 5'3". I can kill you with this brush. I can kill you with this comb. I can kill you a lot better with this comb if I can keep it in my hand. Yes, y'all saw me drop that. It wasn't on purpose. But, you know, as a martial artist, anything that I touch, I've been taught enough lethal ordnance that I could do damage to you and everyone else. Whether you choose to believe it or not, that's on you. And you know, as they always got this thing going around, especially for people who were military, fuck around and find out. So I don't recommend that you do that. I also don't recommend that you go around looking for trouble. But what I do recommend is this. First, you get well rounded in more than one martial art. I have a couple of rules of thumb that people aren't going to agree with, and you don't have to. You have that right to disagree. I have no issue with you disagreeing with me. What I do have an issue with is the stereotypical I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm better, I can whip your ass. Well, that's fine and dandy, but that doesn't make it true. Because there have been bigger people whose asses have been kicked because they're bigger, they're better, they're stronger. I like to call bullshit on that because I've beaten people who were bigger and stronger, but not better. So your fighting set, your skill set, that is the most important thing in a fight, regardless of your size and your age and a couple of other factors. But here's what you need. First, you need experience in fighting. Second, you need to understand how a fight works and how to survive a fight. Third, you need to be healthy. You need to have good cardio. You need to have a good mindset. You need a lot more things than just, I'm girthy, I'm swole up, I'm the hawk. Yeah, you can do all that. You can be all that. But what happens when you come against that little David that kills many a Goliaths? You can't let size be your one excuse of how you beat people. Because I can't say that. I'm 5'3" and a half. Size will never be something that's going to win a fight for me. Ever. Everybody's bigger than me. My 12 and 13-year-old nephews are like right here. They're going to be bigger than me within the next couple of months. My 16 and 17-year-old nephews are taller than me. They're not cut. You know, they're not like buffed up cut. But they are bigger than me. And they play sports. Well, at least one of them still plays sports. I'm very proud of them, even though they do stupid shit. My nephews, who are a generation ahead of them, in their 20s, are bigger than me. They are buffed. They have a little bit of fighting experience, but see, fighting someone in your age group versus fighting someone in my age group who knows how to take a hit and get back up versus someone who gets a hit and I'm done. You know, there's a big ball game out here in fights. Now, I'm not saying I can't get my ass knocked out. I'm not saying I can't get my bell rocked. I've had my bell rocked. I still won. That's the difference maker. I've only had maybe 2 losses, if you can count them as losses. I got caught in a seatbelt, and I got my glasses broke, and I got hit twice by a guy bigger than me. He's like maybe 5'8". He broke his hand on my face, but he didn't knock me out. If anything, he pissed me off. He broke my glasses. He cut my eye. So that's a win for him because when I finally got out the seatbelt, a 400-plus pound cop sat on my ass and put his hand under my throat and was pushing me like this, but his gun was in this hand. I could have killed him. Straight up, I could have killed him. As I told him, he's like, he's got me pushed up against the seat. I'm like, dude, I got your gun. He's like, what? I said, look at my left hand. My pinky is in your trigger wall. Your holster's twisted up at you. I got you, but I don't want you. I want that fucker to just punch me in the face. Because I couldn't get out the seatbelt. So, technically, he won that. I lost one sparring match from a guy from New York, and my family never let me live that shit down. But a sparring match is not a real fight. When we were about to go real, he carried his bitch ass back up to New York, and we ain't never seen him since. But he became an ISK champion. Good for him. Do I want to see him again? No, because I owe him an ass whooping, and I probably won't forget that I owe him an ass whooping for all that shit he talked at the church to the one guy who didn't have a gun versus all of the people when my cousin's life was taken who always was brandishing guns on me, but apparently didn't have it the night that my cousin lost his life. And they were all family, but this bitch-ass motherfucker from New York didn't say shit to them. He blamed me. I was at work. When my cousin lost his life, I was at work. Everybody that brandished guns on me, they were there. Wasn't like my cousin was shot by himself. They were there. And from what I was told from the streets is that they all ran. Alright? Then they tried to pull that gun brandishing bullshit and a cherry bomb on me and found out that I'm not afraid of death. And this is before I went to the Army. But that was also because before I went to the Army, I got trained by a Green Beret. I got jumped on my job one time by two white cats that was about 5'8", 5'9", and I shocked the fuck out of their asses too. While a big guy with red hair watched the whole damn thing, who worked with me, his name was Chris. He never came up there to help me, but he enjoyed reliving the shit. When I got down there with the two trash cans, and he's like, "You a bad motherfucker, dude. You a bad motherfucker. I thought your karate was fake. I'm sorry. You a bad motherfucker." Now, he was outside macking with these two broads while all that shit was going on. So any story that I tell you about size, oh, I got witnesses. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you on YouTube. No, those guys are bigger than me. The third guy, he brought them there. He didn't do it intentionally. He didn't know they were going to jump me. The guy talking all the shit was the smaller of the two guys. But the guy that was bent behind me and grabbed me in a reverse bear hug and didn't have a gable grip, when I flipped him, it fucking surprised him. Surprised me too. Then I elbowed him and grind my shit in. His arms came off. I rolled back off. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. He could barely get up. And when he got up, I was moving in for the kill until his girlfriend got in the way. So here's that thing about size, man. You know, size is a factor if you allow it to be a factor. Everybody's bigger than me. Everybody. Everybody's been bigger than me since I was 6 years old. The reasons why my uncles made me fight was because I was the runt of the litter. They didn't make their kids fight. They made me fight. Also, my father wasn't there to put a stop to that shit until I was 12 years old. So my father lived in 2 cities, and my dumb ass was too scared to call him and let him know what's going on because I was scared of my uncles. All of my uncles was military. All of my uncles were over 6 feet tall, which made me scared of them. But every kid that I had to fight in those 6 years of fighting was always bigger than me. And I had this motto because they grind this shit in my head. Who do you fear more? That kid that's bigger than you or us? Because we're bigger than him and you. So as I got older, I learned one thing. Stop being afraid of people bigger than me. Because that's just it. They are just bigger than me. That does not mean they fight better than me. That just means 2 things. There's 3 fingers there, but that means 2 things. First thing is, they are stronger than me. I already know that coming out of the gate. The second thing is, they're taller than me. So they are taller and they are stronger. That does not make them better. It just means I got to put in that work. That's pretty much it. If somebody's bigger than you, you just got to put in that work. You can have somebody bigger than you and have a glass fucking jaw. And if they have a glass jaw, you ain't got to work that hard. Because once you hit them in that jaw and they go to sleep, you've done your fucking job. Now, for all you other people, let me talk about my little stint in the Army. Because it was only a few months. I didn't get to serve the way I wanted to serve. I got an honorable discharge and I got a hip replacement due to the damage that my body received in BC at Fort Benning. We had some big drill sergeants at Fort Benning. We had some little drill sergeants at Fort Benning. Everybody salute Fort Benning, especially Drill Sergeant Committa, because he was a bad motherfucker. Also part native or all native, don't fuck with Committa. Other drill sergeants, they were all good. But my Bravo Drill Sergeant Committa was the only one that, and Drill Sergeant Robbins, and Drill Sergeant Haran, and the second lieutenant, because he was also a martial artist. But not the first lieutenant. I kid 2 shits about him because he also was a martial artist, but I don't give a fuck about that motherfucker because he called me all kinds of bitches and whores and shit. But anyway, the drill sergeant that I saluted, Haran, second lieutenant, and fucking Drill Sergeant Robbins. Drill Sergeant White, suspect. Sometimes he liked me, sometimes he didn't. As far as Drill Sergeant, whatever the fuck his other name is. Not Drill Sergeant White because he was kind of cool most of the time. But anyway, the other drill sergeant was a Marine. He ain't like my ass. So I ain't got 2 good things to say about him. I hope they all still alive. That's about the only thing because there's still that brotherhood. I still got mad love for them, but I ain't got respect for a couple of them. But for the ones in Bravo that liked me and treated me like I was a human, we on good terms. The ones in Bravo that couldn't stand my ass, I ain't got nothing bad to say about you, but I ain't got nothing good to say about you either. And I love Drill Sergeant Slaughter. Now, he didn't spell it the same way Sergeant Slaughter from G.I. Joe spelled it, but he was a badass too. Now, when I got to Delta, I ain't had no problem with my drill sergeants. Drill Sergeant Aztec Warrior, a.k.a. Amiskwa, Drill Sergeant Allenberg, Drill Sergeant Hayes. They gave me a home. They gave me a family. And First Sergeant Farisco, I can't even pronounce his fucking name right. And I hope all of them are still breathing, because Delta Company was where it was at. Delta Company gave me the chance that Bravo and Golf did not, until my leg got fucked up again, which is why I got an honorable discharge, because I couldn't shoot worth shit. But it was because of my leg. And thank God for McGuire for catching it before something really went wrong, and I found it the hard way. So now you're up to speed. I had been out of martial arts for like 3 years after my hip replacement. So 43, 44, 45. At 46, they started letting me do light training. At 47 and 48, I bumped it up a little bit. It still hurts like fuck to do a tornado kick. So that shit's out. This hip is going due to overcompensating for this hip. So it's all service connected, and they will have to replace this hip. But I'm taking my time on it. Now back to the factor. In Delta, I was placed with the biggest guy in the thing. Right off the bat, I sat there and I told Joe Sergeant Hayes, this shit's not going to work for me, dude. It's not going to work. But we're on BJJ, and he set the guy on top of me, and he told me, C-clamp, roll him over. Thank you, soldier, because he let me roll him over. And he forgave me for the 9 or 10 times that I headbutted him in the dick, because I couldn't get him to fuck off me. Whenever the drill sergeants were walking by, he let me roll him over. But prior to that, there was no rolling him over. He was 300 pounds. He dropped dead weight on me. And he and I, we were cool. We was cool as shit. And he's like, so this shit ain't gonna work for you, right? I was like, oh, don't worry. You're in more danger from me than I am from you. And he's like, well, I said, dude, I'm 37. You're like 22. I've been fighting before you were born. This is nothing. But because I have to do what they say, I'm going to get my ass kicked. So he's like, well, how would you really get out of here if I'm sitting on you? I said, oh, that's easy. I slid my hands under his ass, ran my head into his dick. He come off me, and I pushed him over, and I got behind him and put him in a chokehold. He's like, oh, okay. And we repeated the process 8 more times when the drill sergeant wasn't paying attention. So, like I said, I suck at BJJ. Every time I got on top of him, threw me off. I was at every bit of 145 pounds of nothing for this cat to throw me off. He's 300 pounds. Tall. He's like maybe 6'6". Tall. Pushed me off every time. Here's the reason for that. It's BJJ. I suck at BJJ. I could not drop dead weight on this guy even if I had it because of his size. But here's the thing that I had to teach him. Size only works when you allow it to work. In that situation, I didn't really have much of a choice because we had to do it their way. C-clamp, it wasn't even necessary. I put him in the C-clamp. He pushed me slam off of him. No big fucking deal. Now, here's the real scenarios in real fights. The last real fight I had, I was 15 years old. I got into a fight for a whole week, with the exception of Wednesday. First person I got to fighting with, we were over fingernails and teeth being dead skin. And I scooped dirt in his backpack, and he put foot right to my ass, and my face hit the dirt. I backspin kicked him in the face, threw him an ass whooping, gave him his shit, sent him on his way. Next day was an argument with 2 dudes on a bus, and because of my reputation and my bro Pig, he scared those guys so much with talking that when I got off the bus expecting to get my ass kicked, they ran. Wednesday went by without a hitch. One of those guys that I had to fight on Tuesday's brother decided to fight me on Thursday. I had a 4-on-1 fight. I'm 15 years old. They're a little bit bigger than me, but not by much. If anything, it's more like size versus height. So the first guy got off, second guy got off, third guy got off, fourth guy I had to get off. And that was the guy that went and picked up a stick and I picked up a pipe. And I said, you get to hit me first. After I get up, I'm going to kill you with this pipe. Then Fateful Friday came. The kid that I had to fight, I was 15, he was 13. He was every bit of 6'6", maybe taller. We became friends after that. But the problem was, before that, we had beef before. And I had told him, if we ever get to fighting, it ain't gonna work out the way you think. He laughed that shit off because he was bigger than me. I had on McGregor golf cleats. Not McGregor. Machodo. There were some Japanese golf cleats. I still have them because they saved my life that day. Had I not been scared of that dude, I probably would have lost that fight. But I wasn't scared, like petrified scared. And I think I was more scared of what I was going to have to do to survive that fight versus what I actually was going to do. This is the fight that I mentioned in my TikToks and stuff where I said, I only remember throwing 3 punches. I knew him. I knew he had asthma. I tried to induce an asthma attack, which is why I said your cardio is very important in a fight. What the crowd saw and what I remember will always be different. Because the crowd told me what they saw after the police dusted them off and sent them home and then jumped down my shit. Everybody stopped calling me Bruce Leroy and Daniela and all the other gay things that you could call somebody after they seen me beat this guy. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling a story on how it happened. I remember specific things. I don't remember unspecific things that everyone else said. When we first started the fight, it was because he hit me in the head with a bunch of rocks and gravelly black shit that they put on the playground. Cut up tires and shit. And I was trying to grab one of my siblings who had did something to me and ran up to the park. She got to the fence. I grabbed her. He hit me in the head. I shook my finger at her. I went over to him. He was sitting on a teeter-totter. And I decked him with a left. Because I thought if I hit him with the right hand, it would hurt more since I was naturally right-handed. And I just wanted to sting him. Well, I didn't sting him. I pissed him off. As I walked right over to him, and he was tall, still taller than me sitting down. He's about my size. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. My rational brain was not kicking in. My anger was kicking in, and I said, "Bow!" with a fucked up ass left hook. It looked just like that. It was going for an uppercut, but it wound up being a hook uppercut combo. And when he stood up, part of my soul left my body. It's like, you're fucking dead, buddy. And he pushed me. I slid into a fighting stance. I remember throwing one kick, which was an axe kick. It hit him in the face. Didn't hurt him. If anything, it pissed him off. He charged me. I remember asthma attack, give him an asthma attack. Boom, boom, boom. Now, after I'm done with this, I'll tell you what the crowd told me. He stood back a little bit, shook it off. He dove at me. He grabbed his foot. About that time, he had a helper come. Not going to mention any names. And my left hand felt like the bitch was on fire. This person was pulling me, and my hand just would not fire out the chamber. I looked at his face. He had this leg. He didn't have this leg. I committed the pendulum attack where my foot just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm wearing golf cleats. And he's on the ground. I knew that if he got me on the ground, it was game over because he outweighed me by like 200 or 300 pounds. Because I was only like $110 at the time, and he was every bit of 300 pounds. So don't sit here and tell me the size means something when everybody's bigger than me. Cops came. Got her off me. Got him off my leg. Dusted them off and sent them on the way. And this cop specifically passed away not too long, so we salute you, Granger. But Granger jumped down my throat because I had gotten to fighting 4 and some change days prior to that. And word got back to him that apparently I like fighting. So he took that person's side versus my side, even though I didn't start it. Sent them home. So then everybody came up to me, and here's where the crowd's version of the story comes in. I don't remember anything that they say I did. I only remember what I just told you because I was in the fight. I remember what I told you. I don't remember what they said. I mean, what they saw. Now, I remember throwing 3 punches. They said I threw maybe 15 to 20. I don't remember that shit. So I don't know if I blanked out or whatever, but I do remember only throwing 1 kick, 3 punches. That's not what they said I did. Outside of the pendulum foot, I remember that. So that doesn't really count as kicks, I don't think. But if you want to count it as kicks, you can. So when they saw the fight, what they said was, I did the axe kick. After he pushed me, he didn't fade. They said that I hit this man about 15 times, and I don't remember doing that shit. I remember this, boom, boom, boom. I do not remember throwing a right hand at all. But they said that I was rapidly punching him with my right and my left hand. I don't remember that, but they said that it was boom, 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 boom. I don't remember none of that shit. I remember this, boom, boom, boom. And I remember all of it trying to hit him in the liver and the lungs, and this side of him would be this side of him. I remember trying to hit him in the kidneys. I remember trying to induce an asthma attack. That's what I remember. I don't ever remember throwing a right hand. Not to this day, not ever. I don't remember that shit. I know I used my right foot once when I kicked him in the face. And that shit didn't hurt him. And I knew I was going to die. And next damn thing I knew, I remember him coming and I remember just throwing. But I never did this. Never. It was always doom, doom, doom. I never, ever remember throwing a right hand. They said that I did. And they said that it was rocking him. I don't remember none of that shit. I remember him still coming with the left hands. And I think after that last left hand, he stood back a little bit. And that's when he dove at my leg. I remember him diving at my leg. I remember him grabbing my leg. I remember stumbling back. Then I remember somebody grabbing me and pulling me by my arm. Then I remember my hand feeling like it was on fire and I could not throw the punch. I wanted to so bad, but I couldn't because it was a female. Then I remember my left foot just... And I remember the cops. He only hit me when he shoved me. That was it. After that, we became good friends. So I salute you. I'm not telling you this story as a way of bragging. I'm just telling the story as size not being a factor for me. Everybody's fucking bigger than me. Everybody. I've never had to fight anybody smaller than me a day in my life. Everybody's bigger than me. And if you're hell-bent on believing that size is a factor, I'm going to hell-bent on telling you that it is a fucking factor for you. It is a you problem, not a me or we problem. Because here's that thing about size. Size is intimidating. That's it. It's intimidating. I have seen people bigger than me that I look at, and I say this all the time. I keep it to myself, but I say it all the time. I can take them. And everyone's like, oh, you're just cocky. No, I'm not cocky. I just say it all the time. I can take them. And you know why I believe I can take them? I'm going to tell you an important thing about fighting after this phone call. Be right back. What do you want? I had to text people. As I said, you know, I say I can take them because I more than likely probably can. And why do I say that? Is because every time a big person looks at a little guy like me, the first thing they think is, I can beat that little guy ass without a problem. Well, as a Generation Xer, I can tell you this. No fight ever works out in real life the way you work it out in your head. That being said, I have to make a part 2 because I got things to do. Be seeing ya. I'm Echo Fan Grey Wolf.